Welcome to Lone Star Gun Talk, ladies and gentlemen. This is Derek Wills, and I am glad to have you here. I missed last week, and it feels like I've been gone a month. There is seriously so much going on, and I can't keep track of it all. But I did want to give you an update on something. I told y'all a couple of weeks ago that Phil King has agreed to come on the show, and that still is true. I spoke with him on the phone earlier last week, and we had a great conversation about what exactly my motives are. And I know a lot of people are very upset with Phil King for what happened last session, and myself included. This is by no means me giving him a pass, but I do think that having a dialogue on what we expect for next session can be very productive, especially if he becomes speaker. So that's kind of where we're going with it. I'm still trying to iron out the schedule, but that is coming very soon, and I will keep you all posted on Facebook as soon as I find out a definite date that he will be on the show. I posted on Facebook about it, and I asked if what specifically you would like asked. And some people posted things like, what is he going to do whenever he gets primaried? It's not going to happen. He lives in a district that he's held that seat since 1998. He's been unopposed several times. And when he has had an opponent, he's won with like 80% of the vote. So he's not getting a primary challenger anytime soon. He's not. Phil King's not going anywhere. So those types of things aren't really all that productive. But I will say this. I think that we will have a great conversation. I'm not going to spend too much on the past, on what happened. I think there are some things that we need answered, and I'm going to ask them those questions, but I'm not going to delve too deep into the semantics of it. I think it's far more important to focus on what we want next session and to make sure that that's communicated properly, and also to find out where he stands on these things. And so that's my motivation. That's what we're going to do. And I hope that it becomes as productive as I think it will be. So what exactly would y'all like to see the constitutional carry bill of 2019 look like? HB 375 was good, but in my opinion, it was lacking in a few areas. There were some concessions made that I would like to have not seen happen, and in the end, it still ended up getting tabled. But I'm asking y'all what y'all would like to see, and I'm going to kind of throw out some of my ideas as well, and I'm going to echo this to Phil King whenever he is on the show. But I would like to see that it would be legal for anybody 18 and up to carry. Some people have the misnomer that you cannot legally possess a firearm at 18, and that's actually not true. Per federal law, you can possess and purchase a firearm at 18 years old. The only thing you cannot do is purchase a handgun from an FFL dealer. You can purchase a handgun from a private individual at 18, and that is per federal law. So I hope that kind of clears up some things. So what I would like to see our constitutional carry bill look like is I would like to see 18-year-olds legally able to carry without an LTC. I think that if you are old enough to sign up to go fight and die for your country, that you are old enough to carry the means to protect yourself. You are a legal adult, and you should be treated that way. And you should be endowed with all the rights and privileges that come with that. And that includes the right to bear arms. So I think that you should be allowed to carry at 18. I would like to see campus carry be, I guess, expanded is a great way to put it. But in reality, I would like to just repeal the prohibitions that are in there. So I would like to see public institutions not able to post up 30-06 signs. And actually, I would like to do away with 30-06 and 30-07 altogether. because those only create offenses specific to somebody not actually doing anything. They're misdemeanor charges, specifically a Class C misdemeanor charge, which means that well, per the code, it's a fine not to exceed $200. That's what that is. If somebody is going to carry past a 30-06 or 30-07 sign with the intention of robbing the place or shooting up the place, nobody's going to care about that $200. They're going to go after all of the other charges that, they had. And before anybody gets upset as to me saying that, wanting to trample on property rights, because I'm a big property rights proponent, I do think that property owners should be allowed to regulate whether or not they want firearms on their property. But I don't think that there should be a code for it. So basically what that means is they can put up a gunbuster sign, but there's nothing that it does. If you open carry into a business that has a gunbuster sign, there's no criminal charge for that. What I would like to see is the only time a criminal offense happens is if you walk past that sign and somebody asks you to leave and you refuse, because really that's trespassing anyway. So I would like to see the code change to where 30-06, 30-07 are gone. You can technically legally carry into any place until you're asked to leave or disarm. And that's the way I would like to see that done. So that would get rid of a lot of the campus carry provisions that are a bit confusing as to where you can and can't carry. And, the same thing can go for private institutions as well. The thing is with that is they should put it in their policy that says we don't allow carrying on campus, etc. Again, it's not something that's legally binding, but it might cause some suspension or whatever from the school. But that's a whole nother issue. I would also like to see the elimination of several state-mandated gun-free zones. If you're sick and twisted like me, you've probably delved into the Texas Penal Code and read a lot of things for yourself because you have no life and that's what you like doing for fun. At least that's what my wife tells me. But for anybody that has done that besides me, and I know that you're out there somewhere, you're familiar with Section 46.03 of the Penal Code, which is entitled Places, Weapons Prohibited. Now, the Penal Code is not very well organized. You have a section of Chapter 46 that is entitled Places, Weapons Prohibited, but then throughout other places like 46035 and 4602, they also say you can't carry in here. So another thing I'd like to see is have that reorganized and properly done. But according to this, there are several places currently that you cannot carry. You have on the physical premises of a school or educational institution, which is I'm talking public schools here. This is your high school. This is elementary school. It is illegal to possess a firearm in there. It also includes school functions and activities and all that other fun stuff and it makes it illegal to carry there. And you would think that given fairly recent history, you would want to make those areas safer, and disarming only makes them less safe. The premises of a polling place on election day or while early voting is in progress, you are not allowed to carry. I would like to see that go away. On the premises of any government court or offices utilized by the court, I would like to see this changed a bit. I think that you should be able to carry inside a courthouse. I think that the only caveat that I would give way to is you cannot carry when court is in session and you're either a defendant or a plaintiff. To me, that makes sense. If you're there as a as a witness, fine. If you're there as a juror, I think that should be okay, but that's just me talking. on the premises of a racetrack. For whatever reason, you were not allowed to carry on a racetrack. Security area of an airport, that's a federal thing, within 1,000 feet of a prison on the day of an execution. And there are a few others kind of scattered throughout the rest of the code. So I would like to see most of those go away. I think that we should be allowed to carry virtually anywhere. And I think that it should be without a permit. I think that you should be allowed to openly carry on college campuses and not this concealed stuff, should you choose to, anyway. And yeah, so what are some of the things that you would like to see in the constitutional carry bill? I'm not talking about specific code that you'd like to see eliminated or put in, but what effect would you like to see? And yeah, hit me up on Twitter at Derek R. Wills. Shoot me an email at derek@lonestargr.com, or you can message us directly through the Facebook page, and I'll pick that up as well. I posted a poll on Facebook on Saturday that asked if you think 18-year-olds should be allowed to open carry on college campuses without an LTC. And there was a lot of discussion going on pretty quickly with that. Some people were saying, well, I think they should be trained. Well, my question to you is, do you want state-mandated training? Because to me, that's an infringement. If we have a constitutional right to do something, we shouldn't have to go through training in order to exercise that right, especially whenever it's as clear as shall not be infringed. You're essentially still having to get permission to do something. And to me, that's not right. Should people be trained? Absolutely. And that's what organizations like ours should be focusing on, outside of the legislative portion of what we do. We should be encouraging training. We should be pushing training. We should be holding training. And we do what we can, but, we're still a pretty small organization, growing every day and growing quickly. But, if we were able to focus more on that, I think that would have a much more profound impact on who carries and how proficient they are, than having the government come in and say, you have to go through this course and this is what this course has to teach. If you've been through the LTC course, it's kind of a joke. And I don't say that in hopes of giving some leftists some ammunition to take to Austin, but it really is. Most of it is going over laws and use of force, and that's all great. But as far as how to use your firearm, there's nothing there. It's, can you hit the paper, and can you make this score? If you can't, you have serious problems. But to be honest, that state-mandated training is useless, and it has to be put on by somebody who's certified by the NRA. Oh, go figure. What it boils down to is it's a good talking point, just like mental health is a great talking point. But nobody really gets into what it means to have that happen. Oh, you need training. Well, how much training could somebody possibly need? Well, when you join the military, you get all this weapons training. Again, weapons training is a joke. It doesn't take that much knowledge, doesn't take that many brain cells to understand, okay, this is the safety, this is the trigger, this is the magazine, and these are the rounds. I put the round into the magazine, put the magazine into the magazine well. I pull back the slide, and I aim using the sights, flip off the safety, and squeeze the trigger until it goes bang. There's not a whole lot to it. It's not like you're training people to be, Navy SEALs. What makes somebody as elite as a Navy SEAL is that they are constantly on the range when they're not out killing people. They come back home, all they're doing is range time. They're putting 10,000 rounds out a day, or, it's something crazy. And nobody's going to want to mandate that because that'll be way too expensive. I mean, should we all do that? Absolutely. If you can afford the ammo and you could afford the range fees to put down, 10,000 rounds a week, that you're going to be an awesome operator. You're going to be way better than Dan Bilzerian ever could have dreamt of being. So But nobody's going to do that. How hard is it to hit a target at 15 yards? That's all that is mandated currently by the state and by just about every other state. And to be honest, you want to know what the average person in the military trains at? Well, Marines use an M4 to hit a target at 300 meters. But as far as handgun proficiency is concerned, it's 15 yards. 15 yards. That is 45 feet. That is not going to be a regular occurrence for a civilian walking down the street who needs to defend himself. Most justifiable homicides or even incidents where somebody has to draw their weapon happen between 2 and 6 feet, and sometimes as much as 20 feet. You know how far 20 feet is? It's 6 yards. Think about football, for instance. They have to go 10 yards for a first down, and most incidents requiring somebody to shoot in order to defend themselves take place well within that. It's asinine, really, if you get right down to it, to say, oh, you need training. Look, everybody should understand the basics of firearms, absolutely. But it should not be a government mandate. It currently is not a government mandate. Nowhere in the curriculum for the LTC do they say, here's the safety on your gun. This is how you do it. Treat every weapon as if it's loaded. Never point the weapon at anything you do not intend to destroy. Here is how you disassemble your weapon, and here are proper cleaning techniques. Nobody teaches that in government-mandated training courses. And to be honest, nor should they. What are you going to do? Tailor it to every person's individual firearm? You know how many variations of handguns there are? Holy crap. So, to say that you want training, it's an arbitrary statement, because when I inquire what type of training, all they can really tell me is, oh, you need to know how to properly use it. Well, okay, that takes 5 minutes, if that, and you can get that at your gun dealer. You know what? I bet you that most gun dealers end up giving training before a purchase on several occasions, I'm sure. I don't have my FFL, but you know what? Michael Cargill does. I'll ask him how many times somebody has bought a firearm and said, look, I just need to know how do I take it apart, how do I aim, things like that. And he gives them a 10-minute crash course. I'm sure that I'll ask him and I'll get an answer for you. But to say that you need training, it's a moot point, and it should not be made. If for no other reason, because we don't require training to exercise any other constitutional right. But Derek, other constitutional rights don't have the ability to take somebody else's life. Well, I believe that freedom of speech, if misused, can and has ended people's lives. So, as I've said many times on this show, my philosophy is that you have the right to do whatever you want as long as you do not infringe upon the rights of others, right? Well, the Second Amendment is about keeping and bearing arms, owning and possessing arms. You do not have the right to take those arms and commit acts that infringe upon the rights of others. So you cannot take a firearm and stick it in somebody's face just because. You also don't have the right to shoot them in the face or stick your gun in their face and take their money or other property or what have you. Those are actions that infringe upon the rights of others. So if you translate this over to free speech, you have the right to say whatever you want and speak your mind against your government and against people that have brought you harm or what have you. But there are actions that you can take in exercising speech that are illegal because those actions infringe upon the rights of others. For instance, libel and slander. You do not have the free speech right to make up some story that tarnishes or destroys the public reputation of another person. They are entitled to their good reputation, And if you make up falsehoods publicly that are designed to ruin said reputation, then yes, that is an action that should be punished by law. Yelling fire in a crowded theater is another thing that people bring up. And those induce a panic. Those cause an alarm that is not needed to be caused. And because of that, you do have a right to go about your day and not have an alarm raised for no reason. Let me put it to you like in this way, relating the First Amendment to the Second Amendment. The type of speech that you use, whether it be written, verbal, using a podcast, creating memes, those are all types of speech, are all protected. Just like the type of firearm that you want to own should be protected, and including its functionality and being fully automatic, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. And the method by which you exercise your free speech right, whether or not that's posting it on social media, Facebook, Twitter, posting it in a newspaper, having a public gathering in a public park, is the same as the means by which you exercise your right to bear arms, whether you choose open carry, concealed carry, and where you can do that. It all kind of correlates together nicely when you think about it this way. So there's your food for thought for the week. So I want to kind of wrap things up here, and I know 2 weeks ago I had my rant on the National Rifle Association, and I think I said a lot. I don't think I got out everything that I wanted to say about them, but I think I got the message across. But I came across this video from Yankee Marshall's channel, and he went off on a rant on Iraqi Veteran 8888, the Gun Collective, and the NRA, and gave a bunch of praise to Military Arms Channel. But he actually had a pretty good, quick explanation of why the NRA is, the way they are. The video is laced with profanity, and so I'm going to play a little snippet, but I'll censor it for you guys. If you want to watch the video, I will post a link in the description of this podcast. I think you can click it on all of the apps, but I know you can on the Apple Podcast app. If you want to find it on YouTube, just go to the Yankee Marshall's channel, and you can find it. It's entitled F Iraqi Veteran 8888 TGC and the NRA, and F Mac for different reasons. Here is a little snippet of that video on his thoughts of the NRA.
What do I mean by all this f***ery that I'm talking about here? Well, simple. Fuck the NRA. The NRA is no longer on our side. They haven't been on our side for a long time. The NRA makes most of their money from gun companies. We like gun companies. We like to buy their product. But let's face it, what's good for gun companies isn't what's good for our rights. Because what's good for gun companies? A tax on our rights. Because that shoots their sales through the ceiling. They got used to those huge profits they were making under Obama and when Hillary Clinton was supposedly going to be president. And now that those attacks weren't present anymore, they're like, we're going to have to create them from our side so that we can have these massive sales still. And the NRA is completely beholden to the gun manufacturers. In fact, that's most of their income now. It's no longer me and you supporting the NRA. Our money just goes to pad benefits and bonuses, etc. So they no longer serve us. They haven't served us for a long time. Let's remember that the vast majority of the NRA's history, they haven't been pro-gun owner. That wasn't until the late 70s. I was like in junior high school when they finally became pro-gun, when they were forced to become pro-gun for the average person. And that didn't last very long. As soon as it hit the 1980s, they kind of slid back into their old form of, hey, we make more money when we create controversy. We make more money by giving away a right and then fundraising on getting it back. And that's what they've continued to do ever since then. They've actually gotten more and more into it.
And there it is. That scathing rant goes on for about 16 minutes. And it's not just at the NRA. It's also at the Gun Collective and a couple other YouTubers and people like that. And, he has a point. And I've already said my piece, but I wanted to play it because he makes a point that I did not make. And I think it's a very important point to make. So do with it what you will. I encourage you to go watch the whole video if you don't mind listening to a profanity-laced rant. Lord knows I have had many of those myself. But yeah, it's a great video, and I'd encourage that you take a look at that and look at his channel in general. Speaking of YouTube channels, our Lone Star Gun Rights YouTube channel is doing reviews on the regular. We just posted up a video for review of the M&P 2.0 Compact, and take a look at it. I think you'll enjoy it, and make sure you subscribe and stay up to date on everything that we put out. We're going to be picking up the news again here pretty soon. Obviously, things have been very crazy with everything going on, and with YouTube pretty much attacking every pro-gun rights channel on their website. Things have been hectic for sure. I'd also like to remind y'all of our Patreon page. Please go to patreon.com/Lone Star Gun Rights and consider becoming a Patreon. It really helps out our mission, and you end up getting goodies in return via giveaways and just some freebies and cool stuff like that. And looking at this, I have some breaking news. This is kind of weird considering it's a pre-recorded podcast, but breaking news nonetheless. Phil King has just texted me, and he is saying that we are going to be tentatively scheduled for not next week's show, but the week following. That will be uploaded on Sunday, November 5th. It's still tentative, but I will let you know once this kind of solidifies. And I'm really excited about this. I know a lot of people are very upset with Phil King, but I think that it's important that we have this discussion, have this dialogue, and let last session lie. Get our answers that we want, and then move forward. Focus on next session, and make sure that we are crystal clear on what exactly we want in a constitutional carry bill, and make sure that he's clear on what that will look like and what we are expecting. And that's what I'm hoping to do. As a reminder, please tweet me, message me on Facebook. Let me know what you would like to see in our constitutional carry bill, just for brainstorming, for nothing else. So tweet me at Derek R. Wills, email at Derek, DEREK, at LoneStarGR.com. And you can also message me directly on the Facebook page at Lone Star Gun Rights. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your week wherever you are. Please share this podcast and subscribe. And until next Sunday, Lone Star Gunners, arm yourself with knowledge and share the ammo.